The moment Evangeline Thornwood's wheelchair crossed the threshold of Ridgerest Recovery Center, she felt something shift in the air. The man standing by the greenhouse stopped mid-motion, his pruning shears frozen above a rose bush. He stared at her, not at her wheelchair, not at her useless legs, but at her face, as if he had seen a ghost. She would later learn that in a way, he had. The Blue Ridge Mountains rose behind the facility like ancient guardians, their peaks already touched with the gold and crimson of early autumn. Eva barely noticed. She had stopped noticing beauty 8 months ago on a rain-slicked Virginia highway when a semi-truck jackknifed across 3 lanes and stole everything that made her who she was. Her father pushed her wheelchair up the wooden ramp, his hands steady despite the tension radiating from his shoulders. Remington Thornwood was not a man accustomed to helplessness. At 58, he had built Thornwood Defense Systems into a billion-dollar enterprise through sheer force of will. He had served his country, commanded men in combat, negotiated with presidents and generals. But he could not make his daughter walk again, and that failure was slowly destroying him. A man sat on the wraparound porch of the main building, watching their arrival with casual interest. He looked to be in his mid-30s, athletic despite the prosthetic leg visible below his cargo shorts. His smile was easy, practiced, the kind of smile that invited confidence. "Welcome to paradise," he called out, raising a coffee mug in mock salute. "Don't worry, it grows on you." Eva said nothing. She had perfected the art of silence over the past 8 months. Silence was easier than explaining, easier than accepting pity, easier than pretending hope still existed. "I'm Preston," the man continued, undeterred by her non-response. "6 months in this place. Trust me, the food is better than it looks, and Mercer works miracles. You'll see." Remington's grip tightened on the wheelchair handles at the mention of that name, so briefly that Eva almost missed it. Almost. She filed it away for later. Dr. Cordelia Ashworth met them inside, a woman in her mid-50s with silver-streaked hair and the kind of direct gaze that suggested she had seen too much to be impressed by wealth or status. She spoke about treatment plans and holistic approaches and the importance of mental healing alongside physical therapy. Eva heard none of it. She was thinking about the man in the greenhouse, about the way he had looked at her, about the strange electricity that had seemed to crackle in the air between them, connecting 2 strangers across 100 yards of mountain meadow. Her cabin sat at the edge of a small lake, accessible by a smooth stone path that wound through carefully maintained gardens. The interior was warm, designed to feel like a home rather than a medical facility. Large windows overlooked the water, where the setting sun painted everything in shades of amber and rose. Eva positioned her wheelchair by the window and stared at nothing until the light faded to darkness. This was her life now, waiting, existing, watching the world move forward while she remained frozen in the wreckage of a single terrible moment. She did not know how long she sat there before the sound of footsteps on the wooden deck broke through her numbness. Small footsteps, light and quick. A face appeared at her window, a boy, perhaps 8 years old, with a mop of brown hair and serious eyes that seemed.
You don't need to smile. Just being a little better
Too old
today
for his
than
young
yesterday
face.
is enough.
He carried a
What if I
sketchbook
can't
under
go back
one
to how
arm
things were
and
before?
showed no surprise at finding her there. "You can't sleep either?" he asked, as though they were old friends resuming a conversation. "Who are you?" "Finnegan, but everyone calls me Finn." He climbed onto the deck railing with the casual fearlessness of childhood, settling himself as comfortably as if it were a living room sofa. "My dad works here. I like drawing at night. The stars are quieter." Eva wanted to tell him to go away, to leave her alone in her misery. But something about his presence, his complete lack of awkwardness around her wheelchair, his matter-of-fact acceptance of her silence, made her pause. "Does it go fast?" Finn asked, nodding toward her chair. Not really. That's okay. He opened his sketchbook, revealing a half-finished drawing of a hawk in flight. Dad says wheels don't change who you are inside. They just change how you get there. The words hit Eva like a physical blow. Simple, obvious, and yet no one had said anything like that to her in 8 months of specialist consultations and physical therapy sessions and well-meaning platitudes about staying positive. She found herself blinking back unexpected tears. Your dad sounds wise. Finn nodded solemnly. He knows a lot about broken things. He fixes them. A pause. He's really good at fixing them. Before Eva could respond, a figure emerged from the darkness. The man from the greenhouse. Up close, he was older than she had initially thought, mid-40s with lines around his eyes that spoke of laughter and sorrow in equal measure. His hair was dark brown, shot through with silver at the temples, and he moved with the controlled grace of someone who had spent years in military service. Finn, he said, his voice deep and warm, with a hint of southern softness. What did I tell you about bothering the new patients? I'm not bothering her. Finn looked to Eva for confirmation. Am I? No, Eva heard herself say. He's not. The man's eyes met hers, and again she felt that strange electric connection, that sense of recognition without understanding. He studied her face for a long moment before speaking. I'm Declan Mercer. I'll be working with you during your time here. Working with me? How? That depends on you. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small wildflower. Purple petals, yellow center, the kind that grew wild along mountain roadsides. He placed it on the deck railing beside her window. You don't have to smile, but maybe this will make today 1% better than yesterday. He collected Finn with a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder, and together they disappeared into the darkness, leaving Eva alone with a flower and a feeling she could not name. That night she dreamed of something other than the accident for the first time since the crash. She dreamed of dancing. The next morning brought her father, looking more tired than she had ever seen him. He sat in the chair across from her wheelchair, his hands clasped between his knees, his silver-streaked hair uncombed. I need to return to Washington, he said. The board is asking questions I can't answer remotely. Then go. Eva? I said go. Her voice was flat, emotionless. She had learned that emotions led to hope, and hope led to disappointment. It was easier to feel nothing. I'll be fine. Remington's jaw tightened. I'll be back in 3 days. If you need anything, I won't. He stood looking down at her with an expression that mixed love and frustration and something that might have been fear. I know you're angry with me for bringing you here, for not being able to fix this. I'm not angry with you. Then what are you? Eva turned her wheelchair toward the window, watching the morning mist rise from the lake.
Where do you feel most free when you dance?
In my chest, in my breath,
I'm nothing,
not in
Dad.
my
That's
legs.
the problem.
Then you still have everything
She
that
heard
matters
him leave,
most.
heard the cabin door close, heard the crunch of gravel as his car pulled away. Only then did she allow herself to feel the weight of what she had lost. 8 months ago, she had been Evangeline Thornwood, principal dancer of the Chicago Ballet Company, the youngest performer in history to lead Swan Lake at the Kennedy Center. Critics had called her transcendent. Directors had called her once in a generation. Her body had been an instrument of precision and grace, capable of movements that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Now that body was a prison, a broken machine that refused to respond to her commands. Her legs, those legs that had carried her across stages, that had lifted her into the air, that had made audiences weep with their beauty, were nothing more than dead weight. The doctors said the damage was permanent: severed spinal cord, complete paralysis from the waist down. No surgery could repair it, no therapy could restore it, no miracle could change it. She was 23 years old and her life was over, or so she believed. Her first session with Declan Mercer was nothing like she expected. He did not ask her to move her legs. He did not hook her up to machines or measure her reflexes or discuss surgical options. Instead, he led her to a quiet room overlooking the mountains and asked her to close her eyes. "Tell me about the last time you danced," he said. "I don't want to talk about dancing." "I didn't ask what you want. I asked you to tell me about it." His voice was calm but unyielding. Ava found herself responding despite her resistance. It was Kennedy Center, Swan Lake, the night before the accident. Describe how it felt, not what you did, how it felt. She closed her eyes. The memory rose unbidden. The heat of the stage lights, the whisper of her pointe shoes on the floor, the swell of Tchaikovsky's score wrapping around her like a living thing. "It felt like flying," she whispered, "like gravity was optional, like my body knew exactly what to do, and I just had to trust it." "Where did you feel it?" "In your body. In my chest, my arms, my spine." "Not your legs." Ava's eyes flew open. "What?" Declan leaned forward, his gaze intense. "The joy of dancing, the freedom. Where did it live in your body?" She thought about it, really thought about it for the first time since the accident. "Not my legs," she admitted slowly. "The joy was never in my legs. They were just the tools." "The vehicle." "Exactly." Declan sat back, something like satisfaction crossing his features. "The body you had is gone, Ava. I won't pretend otherwise. But the dancer, the part of you that felt the music, that turned movement into meaning, that part is still there. It always will be." "What good is a dancer who can't dance?" "Who says you can't?" He stood, moving to the window. "I've seen your Kennedy Center performance, watched it a dozen times. Do you know what struck me most?" Ava shook her head. "Your hands, the way they moved, the emotion you conveyed without ever touching your legs to the ground." He turned back to face her. "Your upper body was always the real instrument, Eva. Your legs just helped you get from place to place." She wanted to argue, wanted to dismiss his words as meaningless platitudes. But something in the way he spoke, with such certainty, such conviction, made her pause. "I don't see a broken dancer when I look at you," Declan said quietly. "I see someone who lost her map. My job isn't to fix you, it's to help you draw a new one." Something long frozen began to crack within her. A warmth she had forgotten existed, a flicker of light in 8 months of darkness. It felt like the first ray of sunlight after an endless winter. The days that followed were unlike anything Eva had experienced in her months of rehabilitation. Declan did not focus on her paralysis. Instead, he worked with what remained, strengthening her core, increasing her upper body flexibility, teaching her breathing techniques that seemed to unlock something deep within her nervous system. But it was Finn who truly began to change her. The boy appeared every evening, settling onto her deck with his sketchbook.
Didn't draw you stuck.
Then what did you draw?
I drew you
And his
reaching for what
quiet
you want.
observations
My
about the
dad
world.
said.
Even if it's
He drew
broken, it can
hawks
still
and
be
deer
beautiful.
and the play of moonlight on water. He talked about his father, about how Declan had been a combat medic in the war, about how he could sense things in people's bodies that others couldn't see, about how he had helped soldiers who everyone else had given up on. "He helped me too," Finn said one night, his young face illuminated by starlight. "After Mom went to heaven," Eva's heart clenched. "I'm sorry about your mom." "It's okay. I mean, it's not okay. I miss her, but Dad says missing someone means you love them, and loving someone is never wrong." He looked up from his drawing. "Do you have someone to miss?" "I miss who I used to be." Finn considered this with the grave seriousness that characterized all his conversations. "Maybe you don't have to miss her. Maybe she's still there, just in a different shape." He handed her the sketch he had been working on. It showed a woman in a wheelchair, but she was not sitting still. She was reaching toward the sky, her arms extended in a gesture of such grace and longing that Ava caught her breath. "That's how I see you," Finn said, reaching for something, not stuck. Ava could not speak, could not do anything but hold this small piece of paper and feel something long frozen begin to thaw. "Dad says broken things can still be beautiful," Finn added, gathering his supplies. "Like how the Japanese fix broken bowls with gold. It makes them more special, not less." He disappeared into the darkness, leaving Eva alone with his drawing and a heart that was slowly, painfully, beginning to beat again. But not everything at Ridgerest was as it seemed. Eva began to notice things: the unusual thickness of certain walls, the restricted areas marked with faded military warnings, the way Preston always seemed to be watching, always seemed to know things he shouldn't. She began to notice her father's strange reaction to Declan, the tension that crackled between them whenever they were in the same room, the guarded words and careful silences. And she began to notice the way Dr. Ashworth looked at her sometimes, with an expression that mixed hope and calculation in equal measure. The truth emerged in pieces. First came the confrontation she was not meant to witness. Her father and Declan arguing outside Dr. Ashworth's office, voices low but intense. "You should have told me you were here," Remington said. "I would never have brought her. Would you have listened, or would you have dismissed me because of our history? That history nearly destroyed both of us. I won't let Eva get caught in it." "She's already caught, Colonel. The moment that truck hit her car, she became part of this, whether you like it or not." Ava pushed herself into view before either man could say more. "What truck? What are you talking about?" The look that passed between them, guilt and fear and something darker, told her more than words ever could. "Dad," her voice was steel. "How do you know him? What is he talking about?" Remington's shoulders sagged. For the first time in her life, Eva saw her father look defeated.
I don't need you to be strong all the time.
I don't need to be fixed. I just need to be chosen.
"There are things I should have told
Then I
you,"
choose you.
he said, "about this
Every
place,
day.
about me, about your accident." The story came out in fragments over the following days. A classified military project called Phoenix, designed to enhance the body's natural healing abilities. Her father had been one of the original participants. Declan had joined years later, a combat medic whose unique physiology had responded to the protocols in ways the researchers never anticipated. "I can feel other people's bodies like they're my own," Declan explained during one of their sessions. "Pain, injury, the places where connections are broken. It's why I'm effective at what I do." "That sounds impossible." "So is a severed spinal cord showing signs of regeneration." "But your latest scans say otherwise." Eva stared at him. "What?" Remington stepped forward, his expression grave. "The Phoenix protocols changed everyone who participated, and those changes, some of them can be passed down genetically." He paused. "You inherited something from me, Eva. Something that might give you a chance other patients don't have." The revelation should have filled her with hope. Instead, it filled her with questions. Questions that led her to investigate further. Questions that led her to Preston. He found her one morning by the lake, full of sympathy and helpful information about Ridgerest's mysterious past. He spoke of government conspiracies and buried research, and Declan's unusual abilities with the easy confidence of someone sharing secrets among friends. Eva trusted him. That was her mistake. Because Preston Calloway was not a fellow patient seeking healing, he was a predator seeking prey, and Eva had just walked into his trap. She discovered the truth by accident, a late-night walk that took her past Dr. Ashworth's office at exactly the wrong moment. Through the window, she watched Preston photograph files, copy drives, make phone calls in hushed, urgent tones. "Confirmed," she heard him say. "The Thornwood girl is responding to Mercer's methods." If we extract him and the Phoenix data, Meridian will have everything they need. Meridian. The name meant nothing to Eva, but what Preston said next changed everything. And tell the board, the accident worked perfectly. She was supposed to die, but having her here is even better. Living proof the protocols work. The world tilted. Her accident, not an accident at all. A deliberate act designed to kill her, and when that failed, to deliver her here, to this place where she could be studied and used and eventually discarded. She barely made it back to her cabin before the shaking started. Declan found her an hour later, still trembling, still processing the magnitude of what she had discovered. She told him everything. Preston's phone call, the mention of Meridian, the casual reference to her attempted murder. His face went white. Meridian, he said, the word emerging like a curse. They never stopped. 5 years and they never stopped. 5 years. My wife, his voice broke on the word. Saraphina. She was a neurologist who worked on refining the Phoenix protocols, making them safer, more accessible. But she discovered that someone was stealing her research, selling it to private companies for weaponization. He paused, struggling to continue. Before she could expose them, a truck ran her car off the road. Rain. Night. Eva felt the blood drain from her face, just like my accident. Meridian Biotechnologies, the same company, the same methods. Declan's hands were fists at his sides. They killed Saraphina, and they tried to kill you. Everything clicked into place. The connections between her father and Declan, the real reason she had been brought to Ridgerest, the danger that had been circling her from the moment she arrived. They were not just patients and healers. They were survivors of the same enemy. And that enemy was coming for them all. The plan came together quickly, too quickly perhaps, driven by urgency and anger, rather than careful calculation. Eva would approach Preston, pretend to cooperate, use his arrogance against him to obtain a confession. But Preston had survived this long by being smarter than everyone assumed. "Did you really think I didn't notice you outside Cordelia's office?" he asked, his friendly mask finally slipping to reveal the predator beneath. "I've been watching you since the day you arrived, Eva. Watching and waiting." 2 men emerged from the shadows, and before she could react, before she could call for help, she was caught. They took her to the old Phoenix laboratory, the restricted area she had wondered about since her first day. They took Declan, too, forcing him to his knees beside her wheelchair, stripping away any illusion of control. Preston circled them slowly, his prosthetic leg clicking against the concrete floor with each step. The sound was almost hypnotic, a metronome counting down to something terrible. "Do you know what Saraphina's mistake was?" he asked, his voice conversational, almost friendly. "She wanted to give healing away for free. Can you imagine? A technology worth billions, and she wanted to hand it out like charity." He stopped in front of Eva, leaning down until his face was inches from hers. "Meridian doesn't make that mistake. We understand value. We understand that some people deserve healing," he smiled, "and some people deserve to pay for it." "You're insane," Eva spat. "I'm practical." Preston straightened, adjusting his cuffs with the casual precision of a man discussing stock prices. "Your father's company develops weapons that kill people. My company develops technology that could save them. Who's really the villain here? You murdered Saraphina. I removed an obstacle." His smile never wavered. "Just like I tried to remove you. But fate, it seems, had other plans." He gestured to the laboratory around them. "And now here you are, the perfect test subject. Phoenix genetics, responding to Phoenix protocols. You're going to make Meridian very, very rich." Declan lunged against his restraints. "Touch her and I'll—" "You'll what?" Preston laughed. You couldn't save your wife? What makes you think you can save her? The words hit Declan like physical blows. Ava saw him flinch, saw the old wound tear open, and in that moment, watching the man she loved break under Preston's cruelty, she made her decision. She would not be a victim, not anymore. Eva had been working at her restraints since they tied her to the wheelchair, using Dancer's flexibility to create slack where there should have been none. 8 years of ballet had given her more than beautiful legs. It had given her an iron core, powerful arms, and the ability to endure pain that would break lesser spirits. When the moment came, when Preston's attention wavered for just a second, she exploded into motion. She broke free, using her wheelchair as a weapon, ramming it into the nearest guard, with enough force to send him sprawling, creating chaos where there had been control. Declan needed no further encouragement. He was moving before the second guard could react, using military training and Phoenix-enhanced reflexes to disarm and disable. "Where did you learn that?" he asked as they caught their breath, surrounded by groaning bodies. Eva smiled, a real smile, not the hollow imitation she had worn like armor since the accident. "Ballet isn't just pretty dancing. It's controlled violence. I just redirected it." They emerged from the laboratory to find Remington leading a team of federal agents. Real agents, summoned through military contacts that Meridian hadn't known existed. Preston was dragged out in handcuffs, his charming facade shattered, his curses echoing across the mountain meadow. The other patients watched in shock as the man who had befriended them, who had listened to their fears and their hopes, was revealed as a monster in human skin. "I told him about my family," one woman said, tears streaming down her face. "I trusted him." Eva wheeled forward until she was face to face with Preston, close enough to see the hatred burning in his eyes. "You killed Declan's wife," she said, her voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "You tried to kill me. You destroyed families for profit." She leaned closer. "That's not progress. That's murder." "You don't understand," Preston snarled. "This research could change everything." "Enough!" Remington stepped forward, and for a moment he was not a worried father or a weary CEO. He was Colonel Thornwood, the soldier who had commanded men in battle and watched friends die for causes they believed in. "Take him away, and make sure the world knows exactly what Meridian has been doing in the name of medical research." They took Preston away, still screaming about bigger pictures and necessary sacrifices. No one listened. Some villains deserved dramatic confrontations, epic battles, climactic showdowns. Preston Calloway deserved only handcuffs and silence, the quiet end of a small man who had mistaken cruelty for power. In the aftermath, Dr. Ashworth presented Eva with a sealed envelope, yellowed with age and bearing a name that made Declan catch his breath. Saraphina. "She left this before she died," Dr. Ashworth explained. "She asked me to give it to the person who would need it most. I believe that's you." Eva opened the envelope with trembling fingers. The letter inside was handwritten, the script elegant and precise. "To whoever reads this, if Cordelia gave you this letter, my work found someone it can help. If you are with Declan, you are already on the path. I spent my life studying how the body heals itself. What I learned is simple. We are not machines that break. We are gardens that grow, sometimes in unexpected directions, sometimes into shapes we never imagined. The treatment protocols in my files are designed for someone with specific genetic markers, markers that might be inherited from Phoenix participants. If that is you, know this. The healing will not be instant. It will not be easy, but it is possible. Tell Declan and Finn that I love them. And remember, you are not broken. You are becoming." Saraphina Eva read the letter twice, then looked at Declan through tear-blurred eyes. "She knew," she whispered. "Somehow she knew I would end up here." Declan's voice was rough with emotion. She always said fate has a longer memory than we do. That night, alone in her cabin, Eva read Saraphina's letter again and again. Each reading felt like a conversation with a woman she had never met, but somehow knew. She was about to set the letter aside when she felt it, a tingling, faint, almost imaginary, but unmistakably there, in her toes. Eva froze, afraid to move, afraid to breathe, afraid that any motion would shatter this impossible sensation. She stared at her feet beneath the blanket, willing them to feel something, anything again. The tingling remained, soft as a whisper, persistent as hope. She did not call for Declan, did not wake anyone with the news. Instead, she sat in the darkness, tears streaming down her face, and felt, truly felt, her body for the first time since the accident. It was not healing, not yet, perhaps not ever, in the way she once imagined. But it was something, and something she was learning was enough. 1 week later, Eva and Declan sat by the lake where they had first met. Finn played nearby, chasing dragonflies with his sketchbook temporarily abandoned. "When Saraphina died," Declan said quietly, "I thought I would never feel whole again. Finn kept me breathing, but I wasn't really living, just going through the motions, waiting for something I couldn't name. And now," he took her hand, carefully giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She did not want. "Now I understand what she meant in that letter. We're not broken. We're becoming." He paused, gathering courage. "And I'm becoming someone who wants to share his life again. With you, if you'll have me." Eva thought about everything she had lost. Her legs, her career, her sense of self. She thought about everything she had gained, strength she never knew she possessed, love she never expected to find. A family built from broken pieces and held together by something stronger than blood. "I came here expecting to die slowly," she said. "Instead, I found reasons to live." She lifted their joined hands and pressed a kiss to his knuckles. "My heart is ready to dance again, Declan, and I want to dance with you." 3 months later, on the anniversary of the day they first met, Declan brought Eva back to the lake at sunset. Finn walked ahead of them, suspiciously quiet, clutching something hidden in his jacket pocket. "What's going on?" Eva asked, sensing a conspiracy. Declan stopped her wheelchair at the exact spot where he had first given her a wildflower. The sky blazed orange and pink above the mountains, and the lake reflected it all like a mirror of fire. "Finn has something he wants to ask you," Declan said, his voice rough with emotion. The boy stepped forward, suddenly shy. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and held it out with trembling hands. "Eva," he said, his voice small but determined, "my dad loves you, and I love you too. We were broken before you came, but now we're not." He opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring. "Will you be my mom, please?" Eva could not speak, could not breathe, could only look at this brave little boy and his father, both watching her with hearts in their eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, her voice breaking with joy. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." Finn whooped and threw himself into her arms. Declan knelt beside them, sliding the ring onto her finger with hands that trembled slightly. "I love you," he said simply. "Both of you. Forever." That night, Finn called her Mom for the first time, and Eva discovered that some words could heal wounds that medicine never could. 1 year later, the lights of the Kennedy Center blazed against the Washington sky. Inside, an audience of 2,000 held their breath as the curtain rose on a performance unlike anything they had ever seen. The ballet was called Phoenix, choreographed and performed by Evangeline Thornwood, the dancer who had once soared across this very stage on two perfect legs. Tonight, she soared differently. Her wheelchair moved across the stage like a living thing, an extension of her body rather than a limitation. Her arms traced patterns in the air that made the audience weep. Her face told stories that words could never capture. And when the music swelled to its climax, she reached toward the heavens with such grace and longing that even the critics forgot to be critical. She was not dancing despite her wheelchair. She was dancing with it. The standing ovation lasted 7 minutes. In the VIP section, Declan held Finn's hand as tears streamed down his face. The boy bounced on his seat, waving a homemade sign that read, "That's my mom," in bright purple letters. Remington sat beside them, his own eyes suspiciously bright. He had spent a lifetime building empires and commanding armies, but nothing he had ever accomplished made him prouder than watching his daughter refuse to be defined by her limitations. Backstage, Ava wheeled through crowds of well-wishers toward the only people who truly mattered. She wore Saraphina's letter in a locket around her neck, a reminder of the woman who had saved her without ever meeting her. Finn reached her first, throwing himself into her arms with the full-body enthusiasm of childhood. "Mom, you were amazing. Did you see me? I was cheering the loudest." "I heard you, sweetheart." She pressed a kiss to his hair, breathing in the scent of little boy soap and excitement. "You were my favorite part." Declan knelt beside her wheelchair, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that still made her heart skip after a year of marriage. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Being back here?" Eva looked around, at the stage where she had once danced on 2 legs, at the audience still buzzing with excitement, at the family she had never expected to find. "Different," she said, "but different isn't always bad. Sometimes different is exactly where you're supposed to be." She took his hand. On her ring finger, a simple gold band caught the light. On his wrist, a bracelet that had once belonged to Saraphina, now a family heirloom connecting past and present, loss and love, endings and beginnings. "Can we get ice cream?" Finn asked, already bouncing toward the door. "Champions deserve ice cream." "You said so, Grandpa." Remington smiled, a rare expression that transformed his stern features into something almost soft. "Champions deserve whatever they want, kid." They left the Kennedy Center together, grandfather, father, mother, son, walking into a night full of stars and possibilities. Ava caught her reflection in the glass doors as they passed. She was seated, not standing. She would never stand again, but she had never stood taller. 1 year ago, Evangeline Thornwood had lost her legs, her career, and her sense of self on a rainy Virginia road. Tonight she had taken her final bow at the Kennedy Center, not on the feet she lost, but on a foundation of something far stronger, a family built from broken pieces, a love forged in shared pain, and the understanding that healing was never about returning to who you were. It was about becoming who you were meant to be. In Saraphina's words, carved now into the core of Eva's being, she was not broken, she was becoming, and she would never stop.
From the story above, the greatest lesson learned is how people can rise above their circumstances when fate forces them to confront seemingly insurmountable limitations. The protagonist lost the ability to move her legs, something that had defined her identity, career, and pride. But what she didn't lose was her humanity. Rising above this isn't about returning to her old form, but about bravely accepting a new body and finding new meaning in life within that harsh situation. She didn't hide from the world, nor did she let her pain turn her into a resentful person. Instead, she gradually learned to live on, learned to love her imperfect self. This is a profound lesson for everyone. True strength doesn't lie in a perfect body, but in willpower and character. The story also offers a moral lesson about how people treat each other. People with disabilities are not objects of pity, much less ridicule or contempt. They are still human beings full of emotions, intelligence, and a desire to live. When society looks at them with curiosity or sarcasm, it's not a sign of strength, but a lack of morality. Conversely, morality is expressed through respect, listening, and treating each other equally. The story shows that with the right attitude and genuine understanding, people can give each other the strength to keep moving forward, even if they can no longer walk on their own 2 feet. Never giving up is the most important and clearest lesson throughout. The protagonist could have remained forever in despair, but she chose to continue living, creating, and contributing in her own way. Each time she appeared in public, each time she dared to face the gaze of others, it was a victory over fear. This reminds us that failure is not as frightening as giving up on oneself. Ultimately, the story silently but powerfully condemns the habit of mocking people with disabilities, an act that seems harmless but leaves deep wounds. The lesson learned is, by respecting the vulnerable, not laughing at their pain, and learning to rise above one's own adversity, a person not only matures, but also becomes more humane and worthy of being called human.